Dimalan Baratua, and welcome to the archive, where we explore the stories of artists.
If that production that how, then that's it. Your last check is your last check in this industry. You could be on a show for 10 years. How about fired? That last check that you're going to get is your last check. There's no way you're going to knock and say, Tim Kupa.
Unpack their journey.
So even everything that I'm doing is an inspiration of the journey she's traveled and how she wants to see the industry. So a part of her dreams now live with us.
And shine a light on the arts.
The reality is that young people on a daily basis are going through struggles in the arts, whether you're a sound guy, whether you're a makeup artist, whether you're an event person. The space is in one, and there's just so many gatekeepers. The system, both in public and private sector, is not so enabling for people.
My name is Hope Mareka, the CEO and founder of Archive Media House, and I'm so happy to have you today. Today we have a phenomenal and incredible man who has changed the landscape of African art through policies, through events, through public relations. He is so incredible. He is not only the son of our mother, Mama Connie Chiume, but he is an entertainer and artist of note, and it is an absolute honor to have him here with us today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. And how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
Sharp. Let me greet you with the famous one. How are you, my baby?
Okay. We get into say. You see, here at the archive, we love to identify as the home of African artists and entertainers. And what better way to be at home than to just feel comfortable and be yourself? So I could sit here and read your bio and tell everybody everything you've done, but I would love to know, or we as the archive would love to know, who is Nongelo and what is it that you represent and stand for?
Sure. So Nongelo is a 34-year-old young man. I grew up in Soweto. I grew up ke tsa di-fashion show ko garageng ya Kontlung, ke tsa di-beauty pageants tsa ko kasi Kontlung. So ko gae, it was just always that house with tletseng bana. We'd host like local talent shows there with me and my little sister. So it's something I ke gotse ka yona, and I grew up in that space, you know. So years went by later, I fell deeper into it. I started doing events when I was a teenager. Later on, I got into artist management. But then, you know, as time went, I realized that, hey man, actually the arts is bigger than what we actually think. Then I started going into the administrative side of arts because there were certain things that I felt need to be changed. And who are they going to be changed by if they are not changed by ourselves, people who are artists or artist practitioners ourselves? So it grew into me being an activist later in my formative years.
Okay, I want to go back to the garage.
Yes.
That we are hosting these beauty pageant ad with your sister. Why? Like, what made you so curious about art? Of course, you grew up in a house of artists themselves. And what was that like? Firstly, to grow up in a home that your parents like were artists, and like for me, now my parents are both entrepreneurs, right? So I grew up in an entrepreneur's home where someone whose mom is a teacher or someone or a doctor, you grow up with a different like upbringing.
Sure.
So what you would like to be raised by an artist?
So I must say this, my mom was very, very, very strict when we were growing up. She was really, like, how can I say? She was really a nonsense taker. So we knew as kids that hey, we always had to be in line and to be on check. But, you know, she was also the most sweetest person and most, in some ways, she wouldn't necessarily show how soft she genuinely was. Because for a parent to allow Bana ba gaetsho always utilizing the garage for the practice tsa ko kasi le tsa di-choir le tsa eng. I mean, for another person, some ba tshwenya bana bana, you know. So what it was like, it's that I realized that this woman was able to identify her children's passion or love, and she allowed them to express it. To a point where even later, when I was a teenager, like I'm saying that I used to do events, she was the first person to actually sponsor doing events, because obviously as a teenager at that time, who was going to give you money to be going around and throwing events? And I remember my first 2 events were not successful. Later in the years, my events became very successful. They became one of the most biggest hip hop community events in the East End. And for me, that just demonstrated something about believing and patience. So to answer your question about how was it like growing up in such a household, it taught me a lot of things from an early age. Now that I reflect, that resilience, that you need to be consistent about what you want, you need to be patient towards the goals that you're working towards. So for me, that's what I learned. But growing up with her being a star, having the status of being a public figure, it's not something that we actually really thought about, you know. We didn't, it never got into our point at any time. I think the only times where we would be reminded of that is when career morning, or when we go to school, go concerting, and you're like, oh, shucks, konje. It's this kind of situation. But we grew up. It's only now in the last 10 or 15 years we got to realize, oh shit, actually, this is actually Ke motho o mogolo, which is a big person. But even then, still, we try to really separate her from us, and not in a bad way, because we didn't want our lives to be, although you can't really take it away, but we didn't want it to be so glued up to a point where people are unable to separate our talents and our crafts that we are still building today. And I'm saying, when I'm saying we, I'm speaking about me and my little sister.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's so fascinating to hear, because obviously this woman is loved globally. She was a global, like even in Hollywood, like they loved her in the world, you know. But keep how, you know. So like from a mama point of view, like what is something that you can say that you took from her that you're gonna keep forever outside of her artistry?
Mm.
And you can also talk about your father, because this is it's literally like how your parents, like here at the archive, we like to start by the child, because as much as you grew up in a household of artistry, where did you get that decision? Like, where did you make that decision of like, okay, I'm willing to live my life for this? Because obviously, when you have your own story, you get to a place within yourself that you're like, actually, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Um, funny enough, as we're doing this interview, I know it's not the question that you asked, but funny enough, as we're doing this interview, I can actually feel her energy. And why? Because of the question that you asked. I think what you guys are doing and what you guys seek to achieve in life is something that should have been so supportive towards. Uh, I took away learning how to be humble, learning to appreciate the next person, learning to be a truthful and an honest person. And those are values that I think will impart so much direction towards the type of life that I want to live, or we want to live as a children. Her being a global icon, I think she also was able to utilize that status to give back to her community. So for me, it just says, in as much as you take, in as much as you appreciate it, learn to give back and to make time for others and to appreciate others. And that tomorrow, you might need me and I might need you. So those are the most biggest values that I appreciate. That was my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter. When I graduated from Boston, when I was studying PR, she was the first client of mine to work with me. And in every platform that we went to, I could speak about many other things in the platforms that I'm with her on, whether it's a radio interview, whatever, and she'd always pinch me and say, speak about your PR, So she really believed in me, and she put me in moments and in situations where I never thought I'd be able to do a particular thing, but she was constantly reminding me of God's grace and God's power and just the power of believing. It's a huge void, but I know that I'm definitely not alone. I know that everything that I'm doing now, it's stuff that she knew and stuff that she supported, and I know she'll be cherishing and guiding me towards everything else that I'm doing, because we call each other comrades sometimes, because I dragged her to a lot of things that she necessarily didn't want to be a part of. But she did it because she knew she was supporting my dream. She did it because she believed in my thinking. And I don't think it's very rare that you can find, sorry. It's very rare that you can find a black parent, not to say anything bad about our parents, but a woman who would give so much, not only to her children, but to her family and her friends and the community. So even everything that I'm doing is an inspiration of the journey she's traveled and how she wants to see the industry. So a part of her dreams now live with us. So that's how I feel about it. I'm not sure if I've answered your question. Sorry about that.
No, don't be funny. Don't be funny. Mavis Holwick was an amazing woman. I got a pleasure to meet her, and her warmth is incredible.
Which is why I'm saying I feel her presence here, because she was so in love with this type of things. She believed in young people. She believed in young black people. She would have probably said to you guys, you know what, guys, I can see you guys going forward, because the energy even that I'm feeling now is so positive, of ambitious, dedicated young people. And I'm sure that all of you guys are destined for something.
Thank you.
So that's her words. Not necessarily how I feel now, but when I'm saying I'm feeling her here, it's exactly what I should have told you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're an activist.
Yeah.
So somebody that an activist is somebody that is an activist for the arts. That's not understanding.
Yeah.
What made you, as a person who not only consumes art but creates it and protects it, what made you be an advocate for it?
Hey, so growing up, obviously, outside of your mom being Connie Chiume, you'll always fight in this life. You'll fight to be appreciated, you'll fight to be recognized, you'll fight to be given a space. And I realized that the fight is bigger than an individual, it's bigger than me. So I then came across a friend of mine, Romeo Ramo Ada, and I was introduced to him by another lady called Anika Masongani, who is a jazz musician. And they used to gather all the time at downtown studios, just as artists, as dancers, as producers, just to speak about the struggles that the industry is facing. And then I then joined the organization. 1 month I was the provincial secretary of it. Following month, Kibo Bank promoter. In 1 month, secretary national secretary. You know? So, and here I am, and I come from a background where I was in this SRC, né? So I know this, if I can call it radicalism and activism, but I think later in the years I grew up and I became different and I became softer. But I still had the very radical thinking and conscience within me. So Kimo here, I'm involved in this archive thing. Hey, we're now matching with the SABC. We're literally just advocating for empowerment and development of artists, and in this case, particularly of young people. Because outside of everyone just wanting to be famous, everyone just wanting to be a rapper, an actor, influencer, the reality is that young people on a daily basis are going through struggles in the arts. Whether you're a sound guy, whether you're a makeup artist, whether you're an event person, the space is in one, and there's just so many gatekeepers. The system, both in public and private sector, is not so enabling for people, you know. So I joined Sakai because I had passion to see people grow and develop in the space and in the arts. And I'm glad I've been part of that organization for almost 7 years now. We've assisted many young people to access, whether that be bursaries, whether that be funding for their projects, whether that be community, access to community centers and programs within the community. Because, you know, community is about a unit, right? And community says we must help each other to serve them, right? And in the same breath as it speaks about umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, right? So it's what I fell in love with when it comes to Sakai. And we're a huge organization. We represent 20,000 young people throughout the whole country. We primarily exist in your most underdeveloped parts of the country, provinces, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape, where we come in, we bring in skills development, skills training, we do like a lot of workshops. So that's an organization I'm a part of. Arts and Culture Youth Forum. Check it out. Yeah, so I'm turning 35 next year, so I guess I'm like left with like 1 year to be a member of the youth, to be in the youth. So I'm trying to make the most of it, because I would want to, by the time my term ends as the national SG of Sakai, I would love to have great memories, and I would like to be remembered for something that I would have left at Sakai.
Yo, I think what you do and the rest of the team at Bakal, am I saying it right? Is so important, because so many people have this dream of being an artist, but they don't understand that there's a business of art. They don't understand that you don't just, if you want to be a rapper, firstly, learn your music scoring. Do you know how to make sound? If you want to be an actor, do you know how to do a monologue? Do you know how to get an agent? There's so many kids that have this dream of being an artist, but they don't know the route or the path that gets them there. And it's like, also, we need to have proper regulations and policies and laws that are regulating our artistry, because every other industry has it. And I feel that is why there's so much exploitation in this industry, is because we're not protected. You get on set, you don't have protection. You get sexually harassed. Where do you go to? You get gatekept. There's so many things about the space that, because there's no policies, because there's no laws, anything goes. That's why so many people decide to walk away.
True. I'm laughing because, you know, these things, né? It's true they exist. And look, we're 30 years into democracy. Yeah. Arts, music, and whatever played a big role in terms of also supporting the struggle against apartheid. Right? The first question that we need to ask ourselves is that, what's the difference between the industry between now and 1994 and before 1994? Technically, there isn't, other than the fact that technology has improved, which has made the working conditions better for artists. Technically, is that also maybe artists have become more aware about some opportunities. Some artists have become aware about opportunities that are within the space. But how does it make sense that 30 years down the line, creative workers are still not properly represented in the Labour Act? Because when you go into the Labour Act, there's no form in which we are defined as, you know, we are actually classified as temporary workers.
That's crazy.
And it's very crazy.
But we were the people that was like
Entertaining the country, correct.
living.
And the creative industry is the biggest employer right now in the country, and artists are paying taxes. And with those dynamics being given, we still have a lot of artists not having to be financially secured.
Exactly.
For example, you get a production house that gets a contract with the broadcaster, to say you produce this show for 10 years or for 5 years. But the owners of that production are going to give their artists renewable contracts for 6 months or for 1 year. What sort of stability are we giving those artists? Because you, as the owner of a production who's commissioned to do something for a big broadcaster, you've got security. They've said to you, so guy contract, you're going to produce the show for 5 years or for 10 years. Why are you giving artists contracts for 6 months and 1 year? So they're not supposed to be fine. They're not supposed to be okay. On top of that, we need to really get to understand this concept of agents. Because agents, for me, still to some largest extent represent labor brokers. Because you are going to be on a show for like 3 years, 5 years. There's an agent that's taking 25% of your money every month. Doing what? And on set, actors in this country are going through the most. Who's representing them? Do you think agents have the interest of fighting for your rights to production houses? They don't have that interest. They are profit driven because they are making profit off your labor. Right? We don't even have a federation. We don't even have a union. Because one, you're not properly recognized in the law. Two, you are in so much financial instability. Three, you've got these agents. 4, you've got no labor union. I can give you a practical example. Take an actor here from South Africa, take them overseas. Let's say in this case, America. In America, you're not allowed to work on set when you don't have an insurance.
Really?
And when you have not joined a union. That doesn't happen. You need to join a union, and that union comes with an insurance. So should something happen to you on set, there's money that you're going to get. If an artist today would be hurt on set, there's no way I got hurt on set. If that production how, then that's it. Your last check is your last check in this industry. You could be on a show for 10 years. How about fired? That last check that you're going to get is your last check. There's no way you're going to knock and say, Tim Kupa. There's no way you're going to knock. In the same sense, like myself, my mother has been in the industry for 47 years. There's no way now where we can say, is there some money for us? Anyway, there's no money for us. And if it wasn't for her being lucky, and if her being wise in terms of her planning and so on and so forth, we would be in a very different situation. Outside of the fact that, okay, yes, as a children, we're independent to do our own things, but put a scenario where we're entirely dependent on her. Let's just paint that picture, for example. We're entirely dependent on her because that's the reality in South Africa. As old as I am, there are many people my age who are still dependent on their parents, on their families, on their grandmothers. Now, let's say it was that case scenario. What would have happened? And this is someone who would have contributed 47 years of their time in service to the industry.
Sure.
So those are the things we need to speak about.
Those are the things that we need to speak about because it's so true what you're saying. So much happens, but where do we go,
We don't have a place to go. The sad part about it, election time comes, we all campaigning for whichever party we're campaigning for. After elections, no one hears the pleas of artists. That I can tell you. There's the white paper. It's 3-4 years. It's sitting up and down parliament presidency. We've got this new act now that says that people can use your work as research and educational purposes, and you'll benefit from it, meaning that Google can have access to your work, etc., etc. Why are we not? No, you don't get paid for it. You don't get paid for it. On top of the constraints and the problems that we have, we are still being so pressed and being pressed and more pressed. You've got AI. We need to discuss what AI means. There's pros and cons to it, right? Because AI today can literally use models, artificial models, can write a song, can do a lot of things that somehow to a certain extent impact the sector. But also, I've always said that as creatives, if we're not applying ourselves to these things and to what they mean and to the consciousness of these things, then we've got a long way to go. Because I've always said, and I say this in every platform, and I'll never get tired of saying this. In South Africa, there's 21 agencies that are under the Department of Arts and Culture. Those agencies are supposed to be being utilized to transform the sector, right? we've got some document in history called the National Democratic Revolution. It talks about building a capable and developmental state, which was obviously then taken and put into how the state should operate. We will then ask ourselves, as an art, do we really call ourselves an industry? Are we an industry or a sector? Because an industry can demand to see the president of the country. If artists today had to wake up and say, president, I'm not saying anything wrong about the president, but how long do you think it would take for artists to get that meeting? Very long.
What is the relationship that the arts and entertainment industry have with government? Because we can't work without you, and you need to, not you need, it's not you need. We hope that there is some kind of value that we as the art industry are contributing. It is so funny. There's a politician that was DJing at an event, lucky him loads, but it was like, it's funny that we can have a good time with us, but you can't protect us or pay us.
You see, another problem that we have is that we are so dependent on other people making miracles for us and changing things for us. And I'll tell you why. I spoke about these 21 agencies of government, right?
Mm-hmm.
These 21 agencies are responsible for money, serious money. You've got the NFVF that's responsible for you guys, like filmmakers, production houses, etc. That sits probably in 1 year with almost R1 billion of funding available to support to the sector. Why are artists not sitting in that board and that committee? Why are artists not sitting in any other committee or board of government that's meant for artists in the industry? You have doctors, you have professors, you have lawyers, you have accountants sitting in that board, taking decisions on behalf of creatives. We have public participation in this country. That's another truth. We have public participation. When your municipality calls an IDP process, why are the arts not organized to come and contribute to the IDP process? Because the IDP process means the integrated developmental plan. Meaning that right? If our Bolokoro museum has not been functioning for 5 years, through the IDP process, you've got an opportunity to go and register properly to say, this theater needs to be brought back and these sort of programs need to be supported. Because you don't rock up out of the blue and demand for certain programs to happen. Because unfortunately, government works got systems and got programs. So we are not doing that.
You know the civic theater in Bloemfontein here in Ampondok? Yeah. It's like next to the waterfront, Loch Logan waterfront. Yo.
See?
And I'm coming from Cape Town. I'm from the Baxter Theater. I'm coming from the Art Cape. It's just after you graduate, I wanna serve, do something, play, and where's the arts?
Then that disadvantages the arts a lot, because when there is no recreational activity for people who are meant to be beneficiaries of infrastructure, what happens to those youth who have interest in the arts?
Exactly.
We go back to the same problems that we have, because if my love, let's say go dlala bolo or go enter go staging, and I'm not doing that because the facilities are kasla kadi sharp, all you're doing is smoke zone and the all those sort of things, right? And in some cases it leads to the West, because there's no form of activity. Because activity just doesn't mean that you're socially interacting. It means that you are creating some sort of economic activity for yourself. Because how na theater play so we know probably it will be a funded production, or it will be like a ticket sale production. There's something that's going on, but those things are not there and they're not happening.
Also, not only is it growing the economy, I believe that if we could take why should we go to a Johannesburg or a Cape Town in order to chase our dreams when we are a country with 9 provinces? And like you're saying, if we sing in industry, we have to be represented in every province, just like the other industries are represented. Even Cape Town, I love Cape Town. I lived there for 5 years. But
With a boja.
the industry there is not the industry here.
Yeah.
And even for a black person, let's bring it home. For a black person to even make it in the Cape Town, we all 9 provinces go for like a momo.
Yeah, that makes
It's just the dream. Do you see there's a problem?
a huge one. So This doesn't start today, and it's not just with the arts. Now we need to take it back. Okay. So you must remember how the apartheid system designed the whole thing, and the colonial system designed the whole thing. Which is why you'd find that wherever there's an ocean, majority parts of the time, it's usually in an urban area, right? And the infrastructural apartheid plan was to keep, of course, certain areas underdeveloped for certain peoples, right? One. And also, when everyone started coming up to Joburg because of gold and the mine and so forth and so on, it automatically created cities that were meant to be a buzz for a particular system of the time economically. Now, 30 years later, we are in a different pattern, we're in a different situation, which is why we then need to begin a conversation to say, why do we still have rural areas? Why do we still have a certain classification of areas on the basis of their economic positioning, right? Because we can't say, for example, let me make one example, SAMRO, right, which registers the music for artists, right? National Arts Council, that's right here in Newtown. We've got 9 provinces throughout the whole country. In all these 9 provinces, you will never find a provincial SAMRO. You'll never find a provincial NEC. We are still locked in the apartheid design of getting everyone coming into the inner city, right? But it's things that in our provinces, Matt, we need to start advocating to say, no, let us start having access to these things in our provinces, because we will find ourselves in a problem that says to us, we would have all been flocking to the inner city, right? Currently, Gauteng is what it's influxed with it's overpopulated with a lot of numbers. But majority of the talent, because we're speaking about the arts here, majority of the talent does not even come from Gauteng. Right? Why can't they be? Also, what's happening to the budgets in those provinces, whether through the provincial departments or through the municipalities? Because why Tonsin Bona Eko Lusikisiki or Ko Newcastle needs to come here to come register a song, right? Why does Bona Goskaikai need to come all the way to Joburg to come record, right? Infrastructure, it goes back to the question of infrastructure. Infrastructure development needs to become part and parcel of the language of the creative arts if we are going to be talking about the developmental of the arts, and if we are serious and consistent about building a creative economy in our lifetime. Because a creative economy cannot be regional based, it cannot be a Gauteng thing. It must be a thing, a national thing, because it's an integrated plan. Because when you speak about a creative economy, you are not limited to just the talents itself. You are speaking about infrastructure, you are speaking about tourism, you are speaking about a number of issues. So that you will find the touristic element in every province. You will find an infrastructure plan element in every province. So I think we have many great minds. I wish one day that we would come up with one industry developmental plan that would speak to the investment into the sector, that would speak to the development in the sector, that would speak to the education and training in the sector, because, hey, are in school, because are in school, and we expect to be saved by we don't know who. I don't know saving if we don't save ourselves. How many entertainment lawyers are there? It's better now, Rababona, they're popping up. How many? I can mention a lot of things that the arts needs and we don't realize that we need. But REA, because who's studying policy? Who's studying all those sort of things so that we can come back and implant certain things that would be able to advance the transformation of the creative industry?
You know what I think the problem is? I think this is something I've thought of to pick up, is that a lot of people coming to the space to take.
Yeah.
To take. I'm here to be a star. And it's all about you, and you build this whole persona around you and your artistry. But it's never about giving back to others. It's never about building. It's never about policies. We speak with the youth and it's just like, but it's like those things matter. And I love what you're saying is that if we don't do it, who are we expecting to do?
No one.
Because if we look at how we like to look at the Western world or outside overseas, and we want to compare the industries between them and us, they have those people that have said, I am here to step up to do the policies. I'm here to step up to manage. But all of us want to be stars.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we can't all be one body part. We have to all take our positions in the different on the body and function in your position.
Of course, that's what we need to do. So, to answer that, another problem is that if you're going to get into the arts and about famous, then it's not for you. It's not your calling. Because I want you to compare, I'm not sure which age group you're born in, but I want you to compare the type of artists we have today and the artists that we had 10 or 20 years ago, right? Then, look, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep using my mom as an example. She started 47 years ago in the industry. This was even before when TV was there, right? But when it was still probably like theater. And now you need to think that if this person was already famous during the time of theater, what does it tell you about that era, right? And then TV came in. This person was famous in the era of TV, film, etc., etc., etc. Why am I making this example? You will not last if something we geni kaditsela it's wrong. And that is the problem that we have today. This superstar syndrome often creates an illusion for many artists. And they fall into disbelief when the worst turns into their face.
Sure.
So it goes back to say that when you're an artist also, uskaba limited in what you're doing. I create a brand, venture out, learn new skills, access certain opportunities, get into certain investments, use your brand to multi-diversify what you can do in the arts. That's one of the things that I would encourage artists to be doing who have got the brand presence and the brand positioning. Because I feel like staging, I feel like camera about a cut, right? Utilize that, go into the ground and do the work. And because consistency, I think easy, I think a favor, you know. Today, there are so many talentless people around in our spaces. On the basis of maybe the followers about now, how pretty they look. And let's also speak the truth. We've got certain immoral things that are happening in the industry. And it has created a problem because now, but the truth is that because if, for example, the director and you got a role in a certain way, you think I never be I could go to the brats it's only her, you know. And Roshapagan 2 months Rakata, or with Omi, with a caution guy when you went, you know. And what does it say about you as a human being and your integrity and whatsoever that is? It really takes away a lot. In the same way, there's artists who undercut other artists. Where can I hope for the show? I feel hope is charging you too much. I'll do it for half that amount. What are we doing? We're killing the industry.
And you're not as talented as so-called
Yeah.
hope.
There's people who work for free. There's people who legit work for free. I'm willing to be on this show or on this song. I got my exposure. And till this day and age, I don't understand the concept of exposure because everyone is something or everyone is a brand, whether you are big, whether you're not big, whether you're whatever, right? When I say everyone is a brand, is that and for as long as that you are known by a certain number of people or you are watched or you are listened by a certain number of people, why can you not use your social currency to promote yourself or to believe in yourself?
Uses as a ball, ne? Why can't you use your social currency to build yourself? You say it so simply.
Yeah,
And I love that you're saying it so simply because we want to know how to do that, like so many people have the talent, have the gifts, but they don't know how to position themselves, you know? And I like what you say about like building your brand. I believe in building your brand.
of course. It's an everyday work that.
It is an everyday work thing and it's a consistent
Yeah.
thing. And I want to know, like, for you, what what makes a brandable artist and an artist that is willing, that when the corporate, the people in the industry, they're like, yeah, that one we want to, like, I don't know, there are artists that so many people support because they brandable and they brand works and they understand their brand identity. And also, should we be having brands as artists? Or nah, I don't care about the brand stuff. I'm just here to create.
Yeah. So it matters. It really matters to be a brand, and it's gonna sound cliche, but it's the truth. There's nothing that beats being yourself and being original. Do you think if my mom was trying to be Angela Bassett, do you think she was gonna be called Black Panther? She was not gonna be called Black Panther. She was unique. She was African. When she got in there and they called her to come on audition, she represented herself. She represented Africa. And when a director looks at it, it's like, this is what I'm looking for. We're not looking for another Bonang or another Beyonce. We've got that already, right? And it sounds cliche, but people don't understand the extent of it. Because we usually want to make references to something that is probably has social clout or something that we feel that might get us their attention. I'll give you a practical example. I personally think I've got the most boring content ever in social media. But I've analyzed that I've probably got the most interesting content in terms of people's inquisitivity based on, hey, actually, what does this guy do?
Yeah.
So it's how you literally structure yourself, like whether on an outlook or an inlook, how you strategize your structure. Because everything you do must have a goal. Like, never today, right? Or, hey, you're the life of the party. Tomorrow, you're putting up a new image, you're praying or preaching.
I like God, but I like to.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But don't confuse people as to what you're about and what you represent. People must know when I say hope, I can mention this, 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 and this, and that represents hope. And to go to your question about how do then brands identify people, brands want to identify with themselves with people that they think they can be identifiable with. Sorry to say this, H&M or Louis Vuitton would never go to Zoto Abantu, for example, to go and ask them to be a brand ambassador. Because it makes sense why Savannah would associate themselves. And there's nothing wrong with what I'm saying, by the way. I'm from a business point of view. It's not about the person's behavior. It's not about them. It's not about anything. It's just about how brands align. Zoto performs at particular places, which is a market. She's working. At the end of the day, we can say whatever we want to say. She's got the following, she's got the crowd, and she's working, right? She's a book artist, and they're booking her. So the places that Zoto's brand is founding is a places where Savannah wants to be founding.
Okay.
Right? Not necessarily, but in essence, yes. So I'll give you a typical example. If you watch, what's the show you saw me, the cooking show that he had?
Dinner with Sumizi.
Dinner with Sumizi.
Yeah.
So if you look at that whole show, it's one of the most correctly brand aligned things ever. Because this person is known skill sahaiki. Like he's not pretending to like to cook. It's what he likes because he does those videos on social media. He likes cooking. We all know he likes cooking. People that know him he likes cooking. So what's the first step? The first step that he's a brand. Brandetsang eratang pair. Brandetsang eratang ntotsa. Now we get into the show. When we get into the show, you'll find Tastic you'll find La Crest, you'll find a champagne brand, you'll find about close to 8-10 brands on that show.
And they all align.
They are all aligned to his personality. So that's what I'm saying, that you must be able to utilize your brand correctly and align it correctly. I used to be a talent manager. I used to work with artists, and I used to work with actors, and I used to be a booking agent. And I haven't done that in a while. And I ventured into something else, which is still in the arts, which is the whole administrative thing. So I've branded myself to a point where in the space that I'm doing, which is a space that probably people don't yet fully understand, I've branded myself to a point where sometimes I'm even asked or encouraged to come and be part of certain government boards, right? Because of how I've now somehow presented myself or branded myself, right? So that's who I am now. I'm that guy who's forever speaking about the advocacy and the policy of the arts. So when someone says we are actually looking for someone to be part of this board or this committee, do you think they want to think about Scott Mapuma? And I'm not saying anything about Scots. I love Scots. He makes beautiful music. But I'm saying that how people think about you and how people align to you is on the basis of how they interact with you, on the basis of how they see you, and on the basis of how the brand aligns with you. So every decision you take must be calculated, must be well thought of. Whether you remember, say, you like to go to church, but you also want to be seen, like a there's nothing wrong with this, right? But the aligning to you so that uskabali confusion ka play how, right? So technically it's that I wanted to use that for me as an example in main.
Sure. I think this is so important because when you have a brand, it takes your artistry to monetization.
Yes.
Because we have artistry without monetization.
No, it happens a lot.
And we have artistry with. And I believe it's the brand that is selling your art to the world. Oh, sorry, this is amazing. When you speak, I hear a deep passion for someone who is very learned.
I wish. The biggest scammer ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
No paradigms. People think
I'm not talking about learning from the traditional
way, which is academic. No, I don't know, lie. I'm very not academic. It fades a hood in my life. Yeah.
But you are smart in other ways.
Yeah. Because I applied myself.
You say, like, before the interview started, you were saying that you think so deeply, Meta. And this deep thoughts that you carry with you has put you in many leadership positions.
Yeah.
You got an award at the age of 17 and you were honored by Ekuruleng.
Yeah.
Like, at 17, what were you doing?
Crazy, right?
So that big.
Hey, I'm like, hey, I'll tell you about it. And not even, I'm the most, well, if you've got me on WhatsApp, you'd see, so I'm not as serious as you'd make it sound. I'm really out there like that. But to answer your question, I started very young, man. I told you about the garage story. That was like a 9. So imagine if I started doing those things at like 8, 9. Obviously at 17, I'll probably be doing something else. So 17 years, I was awarded with the citation of honor by the city of Ekurhuleni for arts and entertainment.
Are you our next minute?
As the future will tell us. So it was that. So it started there. So that's when I then eventually full-time got into this thing of being a booking agent, hooking up artists with gigs, and my company then started doing a lot of business with different entities, whether private or public. So that's where it started.
And leadership, what has leadership been like for you, and how have you navigated it? Because it's a heavy call.
It is because I'm young, and in most of the positions that I've sat in, I've been the only young person there. So can you imagine the frustration of sitting, let's speak the truth. People said Kamlungu that we need to open doors for the youth, but no one's doing that. People are gatekeeping. These Khutmans, they want to pretend in your face, boy. Don't think they've got you. Don't like little lacha kaufela, push kaufela, but they will always find a way to like dim your light. And I can tell you, if you are destined for something, you can try to dim your light all you want, but you will always persevere. You'll always outshine them. But because we have a different energy as young people, right? And imagine, I'm 34, turning 35 next year. I'm still fighting the same struggle that many other young people are fighting to be heard and seen. I might be fortunate that I got into spaces of influence and power, but we are still advocating for things that we're not supposed to be advocating for. Like, it's not a favor for you to be in a boardroom, dog. It's not a favor. Like, if you have the passion and you love it and you are fit for it, why can't people just wholeheartedly support you and give you a chance as a young person to lead? Because you know the struggles of your fellow young people, right? But also we have a responsibility as people who are in those spaces who are young. We need to give heads up to other fellow youth and, hey, yo, this is where it's at, you know? So it's what I'm currently doing. I spend a lot of time with my friends and my colleagues, just making them aware of the vast amount of opportunities that are available there and how much we need to be there as young people in those spaces. So it's been very challenging, very challenging. One, you have to deal with the whole fact that people will always have a certain perception about you if they're not calling you a trust fund baby or a cheese boy or a celebrity. And you must understand that people sometimes do those things not necessarily because they're joking, it's because they're trying to literally like demoralize you, subtly, in a subtle way. Because you must remember, if I forever call you with a certain term, I'm technically just reducing your level of rightfulness in a certain table. You know what I'm saying? Which is why, to a certain extent, I usually have a problem when people keep referring to me as a young person. I mean, we are in a board. I mean, you're a board member. I'm a board member. Stop referring to me as a young board member. I don't call you an old board member. Sometimes it comes from a good place, but you must be able to think about the repercussions of certain things like that. So that has been my challenge. But I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had and for the platforms that God has given me and opened doors in. And I am happy that I know that there's certain people's lives, whether I know them directly or not, that have impacted the platforms that I've been in. And that's what I want to continue doing.
How do you hold up space? How do you challenge? How do you be a difference to the status quo? I myself have found myself in multiple positions at a young age of leadership. And there have been many times where my instinct said, speak up. But my age said, who are you to speak up?
Yeah.
You know? And as I continue to grow older, I'm learning to speak up despite my age, despite my race, despite my sex. I'm learning that what I carry and what I believe in, I'm happy to fight for it. Because I have a voice and I have to use it. But how do you use it? You know, how do you actually take that leap and swallow the imposter syndrome, the insecurity, the fear, the doubt, the brokenness, and say, despite all of this, I am here and I'm here to represent. And as young as I am, Linna, I have something to say.
Go there. So, hey, how you break that status quo is representing what made you want to be there in the first place. Like I said in the beginning, I see favor for you to be somewhere. If you're destined to be somewhere and if you're meant to be somewhere, you will be somewhere. And for the fact that you're at the place, you're there. And when usually you are in those platforms, you must always remember that you probably come from certain constituencies or backgrounds, organizations, and those people are depending on you to make an impactful transformation or progress in the sector or in their lives. So you can't afford to be apologetic at the cost and at the lives of people's future and progress. Because just because after every meeting or the benefits it's over in boards. No, it's not about you. Go and represent the interests of Batu that have probably nominated you or recommended you or elected you to be in those positions. So if we're out to the Himalaya in a meeting and let's say they are discussing a budget or a program or activities, and you're not speaking on behalf of the youth, or you're not speaking on behalf of the sector that you are claiming to represent or the people you're claiming to represent, who truly feel a meeting, they adopt the budget or they adopt the program, are you going to feel proud about yourself? How are you going to report back to your constituents? So speaking out is not about, well, it was somehow about disrespectful or you're stepping on people's toes. Because let me tell you, if you don't become the agenda will be you. The agenda will be you. And even when people are clamped up, hogging a space or trying to really manipulate the situation, there's something that I usually say with one of my friends, and I say this in every situation I find myself in. Let's say I'm facing a serious challenge. This is not working out for me, or this is becoming a problem, or this is quite big and it's beyond me. There are those cases where you feel that certain things are beyond you, it's not about you. There's this thing I like saying, that having an agenda within an agenda. So if wena nkela ka agenda, I'll have an agenda yaka ka wena as well. It was I'll be able to manipulate your agenda to become our agenda, so that I will have my agenda within your agenda. So I've always said that to people, and that's my strategical thinking about strategy and tactics and managing myself within that very sensitive space. Never go see one or we go calling one. We'll all be in one table and we do the right thing.
Karabo ya Afrika. That's what you are.
No.
And that's also what you have. And you're the managing director. I've been thinking about this name the whole day. Karabo ya Afrika. Karabo ya Afrika. What a powerful name.
Thank you.
And I don't even need to ask you whether or not you live it. I can see that you live the answer and the solutions for this place and this country, this industry and this continent, we need these conversations, there's so much that happens in this space and we never know where to go to talk. I believe there's so much power in what we're doing now, because so many people's lives are going to be impacted. So many people's lives are their perspective is Joe, and it's going to change. It's going to show that we're not here playing games. First of all, we are working, like you said. Second of all, we're changing lives through our work and our artistry. And it is a shame that so many people benefit from the blood and sweat of artists, yet artists are not respected or seen, And I think for you and the work that you're doing, thank you for that. And I want to ask about Moshito. I'm very excited. That today was amazing.
Yes,
Thank you. That today was amazing, and I just want to know, what is Moshito about, and what does it represent?
So Moshito is an international music conference, which was founded in 2001 by the great legends Samobab Sipos Tole and many others. It was meant for creating a platform for South African and African artists and the value chain of the music business to access opportunities in the international space. So we have partnerships with 16 countries, music market countries. So what that means that we rotate and exchange artists on the basis of cultural exchange. So it's also about whether you're a writer, a musician, a producer, whatever that it is you're doing in the music value business chain, for you to come and network, meet local decision makers in this country, people who are at the forefront of the value chain of the music business. Till today, many people don't know what Sambro is, what Resa is, how it works, how it benefits them, what are the services that they provide. This is the information we need to provide, how to be a brand, how to be getting gigs. Also, it also provides then opportunity for people to come and showcase their talent in front of all these international promoters that will be coming to Moshito. So that's what Moshito is. We are a premium music conference where creatives meet business.
And essence Athens of South Africa.
Oh, okay. So that's a program that we're doing as the Connie Chiume Foundation. So my mom has always been passionate about cultural exchanges. She has always taken crafters for the longest of time to different markets in the United States, in particular, and other countries. Last year, she then took a group of women to New Orleans for the Essence Festival. So she renamed the program to be the Pulse of South Africa. The Pulse of South Africa. It was supposed to be in celebration of 30 years of democracy, right? That was her proposal. So we are continuing that work because we had a partnership with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. We're looking at renewing those partnerships and also our relationship with the US Embassy in ensuring that next year we're able to take not only just musicians and dancers, but we're able to take a whole lot of South African artists to the different festivals that she used to take them to. Because she believed in so much that artists travel, see, and be exposed. And also just that cultural exchange means a lot because we never know what can be exported here and we never know what we could export to the other side. So that's what Pulse SE is.
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot. I'm excited about the future of this space because there's people like you in there.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to see people like you as well. That you will give our people a platform to tell their stories and their views in this society that has been programmed to believe certain things and not believe certain things. In the society where we don't have enough innovators, we don't have enough dreamers, and I say this with the utmost respect. We need to realize that the future is in our hands. The generation before us fought for freedom. We've got freedom. What do we have? It can't just be, what is it? The dumps and the reels and the selfies. We must be able to tell a good story. And I'm not saying people must be serious. We're not fighting a struggle here. There's no struggle. Because their struggle was very physical. Like we could see it. There's this person, one sharper, there's this person, one arrester. Our struggle is more hectic because we can't see it. You can't see, you can experience poverty, but you can't say or poverty. Or so in that sense, it's to be liberated. To be liberated, first of all, economically and socially. I don't think we've properly socially integrated as a society. And once we've done that, our lives continue as normal. And there's nothing that's too complex because everything about life, whether you're driving, whatever you're doing, it's production. Same as your talent, when you're acting, when you're doing whatever, all this equipment and say it's production. Let's own our things. Let's participate in our own future. I don't dwelling this thing of just not caring. Today in South Africa, others can praise the new arrangement we're in as a country, but we need to think about the consequences of what it comes with. You can't have 16 parties trying to make one decision. And it's another topic for another day, but it's something that we must think about. There's no form of future instability, no matter, these are my personal views, no matter how much of promotion we can give it. We need to be able to understand that we've come a very long way. We are here now. We can't lose it and we can't give up on it now. And I'm not promoting any party. I'm just saying that as a people, as a society, we need to realize that this life thing is bigger than all of us. We need to work together and be in one and path our way forward.
Sure. You just coped it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this help with us, sharing a bit of your mom with us. We all love her. May she rest in eternal peace. Archive is her home and your room. Thank you.
It's both.
That's it from Nongelo Chiume and Mareka right here at the Archive. Archive Media House proudly sponsors the Autumn Denim Wild House Entertainment. I'm Hope Mareka. God peace.